What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the show. So we just received the CPI score, so we're looking at inflation. We just received it a few days ago. And I had some people in the comments say, well, inflation, if it's showing that it's at 3.7%, that's what it is right now, CPI overall, and core CPI is, I think, about 4.3%. But they're saying we're still feeling a lot of pain here. Why is that? Why are we still feeling a lot of pain when it comes to inflation if they're saying that inflation is down? Now, inflation did rise a little bit. We got it down to 3%, and then it started to bounce back up. So it's bounced up a little bit, and so that is probably part of the reason why you're feeling some pain. But we're going to look at every category today. Or well, not every category. We're going to look at the important categories when it comes to inflation, and this will probably let you see why people are still struggling. And there'll be some surprises on here too. So you're going to be surprised as some of the categories have dropped, and they've dropped pretty low, which is good. And some of the categories are actually better this year than they were last year. So we're going to talk about that. But first off, you guys can do me a favor. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit that little bell notification, and then click all. By clicking all, you'll get notified anytime we post a video. We do daily videos here, so by clicking the bell notification and clicking all, you should be getting updated every day. And just a reminder, thank you for your support. If you'd like to follow me on Twitter and Threads, you can at the TEC Show Live. You can also follow my travel adventures on Instagram at Travel Explore Click. Okay, so let's go ahead and break this down. We're going to take a look at the categories here. Okay, so, and I received this, I believe this is CNBC. Let's see, yes, CNBC. Okay, so what they did is they broke down some of the major categories, and so we're going to go over some of these. So we're looking at all items, CPI. So that was 3.7%. Okay, now when we're looking at core, what they call core inflation is 4.3. Okay, so core inflation, you take out food and energy. That's what they do. Okay, so that's how they figure core inflation. So we know there's been a little bit of an uptick when it comes to CPI. Now let's go ahead and look at food. So the food category here, 4.3%. Now these are necessities, and that's why I think it's very important for us to focus on when it comes to inflation. We need to focus on the necessities. We all need food. And so that's something we have to focus on. Some people they have to drive to work, to and from work, and when it comes to gasoline prices is very, very crucial when those gas prices go up. And so when we're looking at these crucial areas, these are areas that will not change. You can't change them. When it comes to buying a vehicle, you can put that off a little bit, right? When it comes to other things, you can put them off. Buying a TV, buying appliances, a lot of these things you can put off for a little bit of time. But when it comes to food, you need to eat every day. And so you're going to need to buy food. And so food away from home is 6.5%. It's still coming down, so that's good. This section here, food at employee sites, that doesn't apply to most people, so I'm not even going to go over that. Food at home, this is what's important. Because food at home means when you go to the grocery store, you're buying food, and then you bring it home and you make your food at home. So it's at 3%, which is good. It's continuing to drop, and that's what we want to see when it comes to food at home. And when we break down some of the categories here, frozen vegetables, 14.7%, salad dressing, 12.1%, uncooked beef steaks, 10.7%. Candy, chewing gum, 9.4%, apples, 8.5%. So some of this stuff like this, chewing gum, you don't really need that, right? Candy, you don't need to buy candy to survive. But when it comes to some of this other stuff, apples, you probably would want to buy that. Baby food plus formula, 8.4%. And then when we come to turkey here, 6.5%. Now, this is what's good. All of these below here, and we'll go over them, they cost less than they did last year. And so that is good. Okay. So when we're looking at frankfurters, we're looking at citrus fruits, we're looking at chicken parts, I guess. So that's minus 3.4%. So that's good. These are all in the this is where we want to see them. We want to see stuff cost less than it did last year. Okay. So that's good. And we know last year was really, really expensive for a lot of these items. And that's why, even though they're less than they were last year, it still seems expensive because last year they were overinflated, and now they're dropping back down to a normal range, but it's still expensive. Okay, so milk minus 3.5%, butter minus 4.8%, bacon minus 6.4%, eggs. This was a big one, right? We remember this, and this was just earlier this year where eggs were just through the roof, and so now eggs are minus 18.2%, and then we're looking at energy minus 3.6%, electricity, this is up, so 2.1%, but I guess they're just showing that they're putting it in this category because it's dropped dramatically. Gasoline, minus 3.3%. Now, we know one of the drivers, the CPI score that we just saw in August, one of the drivers was gasoline. Okay, so all they're saying is it's minus 3.3% compared to last year. But when you look at overall and you start looking at month to month, that's why gasoline month to month rose. But if we look all the way back last year, and you remember last year, there were some times where we were looking at gas prices, and I know living in California, we were pushing $6 per gallon, which is really crazy for gas. Okay, and then utility pipe gas service minus 16.5%. Okay, let's look at core inflation too. I want to take a look at this. We'll briefly go over this. And like I said, core inflation, they take out food and energy. Okay, so looking at motor vehicle insurance, 19.1%, so it's a lot more than it was last year. Motor vehicle repair, this is something I talked about when it comes to motor vehicles. What's going on right now is the cost of a new vehicle is really expensive right now. You can still get now, used vehicles are starting to drop, but when it comes to new vehicles, the dealers are doing crazy things with these vehicles. Okay, they're coming in MSRP, they're coming from the factory at a certain price, and these dealers are hiking them up $10,000, $20,000, and so the problem with that is obviously the cars are just out of reach for most people. I did a video last week and I talked about now people are used to paying like $1,000 for a car payment, which is insane to me. I can't even, the last car, and I've had this car for 12 years already, actually 13 years. And my car payment, I'm done paying the car, but when I had the car payment, it was $300 a month. I can only imagine how crazy it is to pay $1,000 a month. Some people pay that for rent, and people are paying that for vehicles. Now, when it comes to fixing vehicles, what they're doing and what I'm doing is I'm holding out. I don't want to buy a car right now. I'm not buying that $80,000 car, that $100,000 vehicle. I'm going to wait until those prices come down because people are not going to be able to afford those cars for very much longer. And we already know what's going on where people are starting to lose their vehicles. Okay, their vehicles are starting to get repossessed because they can't afford those payments and they're upside down on the car. They can't sell it. And so eventually these car dealers are going to have to bring their prices down. And so you see here when it comes to repairing vehicles, they're charging more. And I could tell you this firsthand. I've had my vehicle fixed a couple of times in the last 6 months, and it's cost me a lot. It cost me a lot more than I thought it would cost. So the repair shops, they're on to this. They know that people are holding out and waiting when it comes to buying a new vehicle. And so you're desperate. You need, instead of just going to get a new vehicle because your car is having problems, you want to get your car fixed because you don't want to have to pay the high interest rates on these vehicles, as well as, pay these high astronomical prices for these vehicles. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on here. Ship fare is 9.9% more than it was last year. Women's underwear, 9.3% higher than it was last year. Garbage collection, 8.9% higher than it was last year. Pet food, 8.7% higher than it was last year. Rent of primary residence, 7.8% higher than it was last year. Very important because you need to stay somewhere, right? You need to have shelter. And so whether that be a mortgage or if you're renting, the prices are continuing to go up. And I'm surprised when it comes to houses, the price of houses is still high. Even with the high interest rates, people are still buying houses, which is, I don't know, it's crazy to me. Okay, non-prescription drugs, it's up 7.5% compared to last year. Personal care products up 7.3% compared to last year. Admission to sporting events, interesting there, 7.2% higher than last year. Medical care services, now this is where we start to see some of this is less than it was last year, so minus 2.1% compared to last year. Moving, storage, freight expense, that is minus 2.7% less than it was last year. And then we'll just go, we'll kind of skip down. Computers, minus 5%. Less than it was last year. And then used cars and trucks, like I was saying, used cars and trucks starting to go down, minus 6.6%. So that's less than it was last year. And car and truck rental, 6.8% less, or minus 6.8% less than it was last year. Major appliances, good time to buy appliances right now, right? So minus 8.3% less than it was last year. So if you are in that situation where you have to buy an appliance, even though it's not something that's a necessity, but well, it could be a necessity because if your appliance goes out on you, if your stove goes out on you, you want to cook food, then you're going to need to buy one. But right now, the prices are going down when it comes to compared to last year. Televisions, minus 10.1%, and then airline. So airline fare. Now, this is interesting because I just actually purchased a ticket to go home, and it was a lot cheaper than I expected. And I'm flying business class on the way back. Generally, those tickets are anywhere from $1,500 to $2,000, and that's just one way. Now, I will say, usually when I travel, pretty much all the time, if I'm traveling business class, I'm using points to do it, so I'm not paying that. Okay, so I'm usually paying $100 for my ticket, but I'm using points, so I use the credit card points. But in this situation, I started just checking to see how much it would cost, and it was $600 to fly back business class. And so I could have used points if I wanted to, but it wasn't worth it. I want to save those points for those fares that are $1,500 or $2,000. I'll use points for those fares because then I don't have to pay that $1,500 or $2,000. I can't afford that. And so I can afford $600, and so I went ahead and purchased it. So airfare is going down. Those prices are going down. And so if you're in a situation where you need to travel somewhere, you want to travel for a vacation, now is the time to get those tickets because they're a lot less than they were last year. And I can tell you firsthand, I was traveling to and from Colombia, and I was looking at some of the different fares, and they were a lot more expensive. And so that is one area where you can save some money. And so the whole reason that I go over all of this is I just want you to see what's going up when it comes to prices and what's going down, all the different categories, what you should be focused on, what you should be just putting off. If you can put it off for a little while, because those prices might be a little bit too high. They're overinflated, and we can wait a little bit, and then they'll come down, hopefully. So if you guys have any questions, let me know down below. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Please subscribe for more, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Bye.